I'm Rachel, a 43-year-old contract worker. My husband, Michael, is a 48-year-old company employee. Together with our 4-year-old daughter, who attends preschool, we're a family of 3. Since getting married, we've been living in the town where my husband's parents reside. We've been living a peaceful life blessed with a good community, but the only problem has been my mother-in-law, Susan. She's a stay-at-home wife and lives just a stone's throw away. I only remember her making snide remarks towards me. Looking back, she was the only one who urged us for grandchildren when we first greeted her after our engagement. Please show me my grandchild's face as soon as possible. At that time, I was nervous and wanted children myself, so I think I just nodded along. It was somewhat expected, given we live in a rural area and she's elderly. But after the marriage, her snide comments became more frequent, and her demands for a grandchild intensified. She even told me when my husband wasn't around that she was originally against our marriage. "Rachel, haven't you got any news about a baby yet?" "Yes. But, it's a blessing, so we can't really do anything about it." That's what young people say. "You can't afford to be so leisurely, given your age." Right. After all, I was against your marriage. I didn't say it at the time because Michael stopped me. When we got married, I was 35, which seems to be the reason for her opposition. She didn't like the idea of me possibly not being able to have children or having a late pregnancy. Susan bluntly stepped on this landmine, saying it would have been better if he married someone younger, but she didn't seem to care. Indeed, I'm not young. But nowadays, it's not uncommon for women in their 40s to have children. And I think it's fine to live happily with my husband even if we can't have kids. I thought my husband shared the same view, but I've started to feel uncertain. What if he secretly shares the same thoughts as his mother? After all, she raised him, so it wouldn't be surprising if they shared common values. Come to think of it, we've never really had a thorough discussion about having children. Susan frequently contacts me for trivial matters. Being called upon often and living nearby, it's hard to say no. Every time we meet, she urges me for grandchildren. Moreover, it always comes with a snide remark about my unchangeable age. It's hard being insulted about things like my appearance, educational background, and career history, things I can't change. Even my every move is constantly criticized. What's even more unbearable is how she implies that my parents are to blame. As for my father-in-law, he turns a blind eye. He's more of a pushover than kind and doesn't assert himself much. Feeling depressed by the situation, I talked to my mother and friends, but there was no solution. It's been hard to discuss these small, day-to-day issues with my husband, so I've been silently enduring them for a while. My husband isn't abusive or violent, but he does have a traditional, dominant attitude, and rarely listens to me attentively. He's told me that he's happy for me to become a stay-at-home wife whenever I'm ready. I'm worried that if I complain, it might lead to me being forced to quit my job. But I thought I might become mentally ill if things continued this way, so I talked to him about half a year after we got married. I think he finally understood how cornered I felt, and he listened to me properly. About how Susan constantly calls me for errands. How I'm used like a driver, a delivery person, or a shopping service. Regarding the expenses, I've mentioned it before, but she never contributes, and we have to pay out of our household budget. When I brought it up one of those times, you told me to just pay for it, so I've been doing that. Did I? But, is it really that bad? Each expense isn't large. But it adds up, especially since she asks me to shop at least once or twice a week. I handed over a pile of receipts and bills I had been saving to my husband. They were from various places, a supermarket a bit far away, a home improvement store, various restaurants, a patisserie, a bakery, and a clothing store. Just the receipts I had kept amounted to a heavy stack. Including the shops in the shopping district that don't give receipts, the expenses added up to several $100s a month. In addition, there was the task of driving Susan around. Since I work, it's often only one-way trips. I'm asked to either take her in the morning or pick her up in the evening. Sometimes, it takes over an hour to drive just for her. Often, it's far from my workplace or in the opposite direction. The gas costs are significant. It's not an amount I can't pay, but it's hard to keep paying this way. Susan can live on her pension, right? Plus, it seems like she's always giving things to your sisters. What? Really? On weekends, I'm asked to drive less, but that's because my sister-in-law's family comes to visit from the neighboring city. Some of the errands I'm asked to do seem to be for my sisters-in-law, like buying cakes on the weekend or sending packages to my sister-in-law during the week. I'm guessing, but given her attitude, I doubt my in-laws are paying when they go shopping or dining out with them. I think she also gives them gifts and pocket money for special occasions. I've seen such scenes that suggest this. But, you know, what really hurts isn't about the money. I told my husband, summarizing what Susan had said. I revealed everything, including the fact that she was against our marriage in the first place. That she said my husband must have wanted a younger woman, and the constant snide remarks. My husband was silent for a while before apologizing. "I'm truly sorry." He then spoke sporadically. He wanted to marry me, and the reason was certainly love. He had no complaints about my age. His mother did express reservations before our marriage, but he strongly protested and she stopped opposing. He had no idea she was harassing me in such a malicious way and found it unforgivable. As for having children, he did want them and had even done some research. We've been married for half a year, so how about we see a doctor? I'm not insisting on it, though. We don't have to go. And we can think about it based on the results. Having children would be wonderful, but our life together is just as happy. I want us to stay together. I was already crying by then. As I sobbed, my husband continued, soothing me. He would talk sternly to his mother. I could refuse to do the shopping and driving since I had a job. He would check with his sister and talk to his mother, but not because he doubted me. He just wanted to hear their side. He trusted me and believed everything I told him. I'm sorry. I can only apologize, but please forgive me. And he asked me to consult him if I had any troubles in the future. Since then, the attacks from Susan have decreased. My husband's words must have had an effect, and I also tried to keep my distance as much as possible. Perhaps due to the reduced stress, we were blessed with a daughter in our 3rd year of marriage. Susan, predictably, made snide remarks about having a girl. Even now, she continues to blame me for not producing a male heir. But I no longer care, and I don't have the time to bother. My husband adores our daughter more than I expected, helping with transport and baths. I was prepared for solo parenting, so his help is a relief, but it's still tough. However, I'm happy that we can watch our daughter grow together. Then one day, when my husband was off, we got a call from Susan. "Hello, Rachel? Do you have a minute?" "What's the matter, Susan?" She asked if I was home, so after a moment's hesitation, I decided to answer honestly. Today, being Michael's day off, we were on our way to Costco. "Oh, perfect. We're also heading there. Let's meet up." Susan probably knew that we shopped at Costco 2 or 3 times a month when Michael had a Wednesday off. She had mentioned wanting to join us before, so this seemed deliberate. "Your parents are coming too." "I see." When we met up, Susan was unusually excited, and my father-in-law was as inconspicuous as ever. I mentioned we wouldn't buy perishables as we had to pick up our daughter from her lesson afterward, which disappointed her. But she quickly recovered. She browsed, murmuring, "This for Amanda, this for Emily," and even shopped for friends and neighbors, filling the cart quickly. I was surprised that she was shopping not only for herself but also for friends and neighbors. Soon, the cart was filled to the brim, and Michael seemed astounded. As expected, after thoroughly enjoying her shopping, Susan, before queuing up for the checkout, said, "I'm just going to the restroom. I'll wait for you at the food court once I'm done." With that, she swiftly left, abandoning the overloaded cart and my father-in-law. Once she was out of sight, Michael and I couldn't help but laugh. We sorted through the items, paying only for our stuff. When it was our turn, Michael told the cashier, "Please separate the remaining items. They're for the person who's in the restroom." We left payment to my father-in-law, saying, "Dad, could you handle the rest? Michaela is waiting, so we need to go. Please tell Mom." Okay, sure. Let's head home, Rachel." "Yeah." There's a postscript to this story. That day, I received countless calls and messages from Susan, which I ignored with Michael's agreement. She was asking why we left and needed money. 2 weeks later, when we thought Susan had nothing more to say, my husband received a call from his sister. She was very angry. In the neighborhood, Susan was being ridiculed as a moocher, and my sister-in-law was also affected. I then remembered greeting a neighbor's wife at Costco's exit that day. Perhaps she thought it suspicious that we left my father-in-law with the remaining items. Mom and Dad didn't have enough money, and you left them there without helping? What were you thinking? My father-in-law had told the neighbor's wife that we paid only for our items and left them behind. The wife we met is known as the neighborhood influencer. With her sharp intuition and keen observational skills, she must have understood everything from our brief conversation. Michael sighed and told his sister. We've covered for them enough. Why don't you help sometimes? You always get help from Mom. I wasn't there. You're in the same boat. If you're so concerned, go and help. And just so you know, we never received any help from Mom and Dad. Really? My husband explained that we have received nothing from his parents. This was thorough, to the extent that we didn't even receive a wedding gift. Of course, we also didn't receive the benefits his sisters usually enjoy. Not even birthday presents or New Year's money for our daughter. My sister-in-law is not heartless. She seemed genuinely unaware of the financial situation and was apologetic when she found out. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'll talk to Mom right away. After that, it seems Susan was harshly criticized by my sister-in-law. Even my father-in-law scolded her severely. Since then, Susan has become much quieter, allowing us to live peacefully while maintaining a healthy distance.